All right, I've decided YouTube's more interesting if there's a bit of a story behind someone's movie they make. I find I'm watching more YouTube videos of people that have some personal experience, whether they're like old street racers from the 70s or I don't know, whatever they do, they actually have a story behind it. So I'm going to tell you my Argo story before we get into an in-depth look at the particulars of this perfect Argo. Only going to take a minute. It's not a long-winded story. All right. Now, when I was a kid, it's funny how like I'm 62 now and I don't remember what I did yesterday, but I seem to remember like a show I was watching on TV when I was 5. And I don't know if it was the Forest Rangers or if it was Gentle Ben or something like that. We only had 3 channels, so we didn't have a big variety of things. But I saw a 6-wheeler on this show come barreling down a gravel road, run out a dock at full speed, out onto a dock, and then just launch itself out into a pond like it was nothing. I'd never seen anything like that before. This is before quads or trikes or anything. And it's the first 6-wheeler I had seen. So that stuck in my brain as a kid. You know how you just kind of remember things like that, wow, that's just the coolest thing ever. Like it floats and, you know, you can see the water sprayed up behind it from the tires buzzing around. It's just so cool. Now that always stuck in my mind. So growing up as a kid, we were always, thrown in the back seat of our parents' car to go off to some, I don't know, relatives visiting or something. And you're out on the road and we didn't have anything, click in front of our face to keep us occupied. So I would always be looking at the ditches and, the property between the road and the fence line. And I'd be picturing these ATVs, these 6-wheel drive ATVs going down the ditches and up the other side. And you get to a creek and you'd think, oh, that would be so cool to go across it and stuff. And I was still just a kid. And then fast forward into my teen years, like late teen years, I found my first Argo, my first 6x6, 1975, I think it was, Argo 6x6 with a 2-cycle snowmobile engine in it. And then over the years, I bought a few more. Now, let's fast forward again to like 2010. By now, I'm running it's an old 1982 6x6 HD heavy duty Argo, and it had been upgraded with a V-twin engine. I went everywhere with this thing. Took it out on the pond out back, caught massive fish. Well, not massive. And it was a good machine. And then one day I read on route6x6.com, I think it was, that there's like a local group going for an Argo ride. There's a fella south of London and they do this annual run. I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to take my Argo and I'm going to check it out. So I loaded up and I take it. And yeah, I got the oldest, crappiest Argo, but it wasn't the least capable. It did really well. People were shocked. I never did get stuck. But one thing I recall there, this is 2010. And after goofing around out in the trails in the bush, front, and people were like diving their Argos down into it, splashing around and climbing out kind of, trying to climb out. Some of them couldn't make it the first try or they had to go to a different spot. I jumped in with my little Argo, my ancient one, and I was able to climb out. I had good tires on it. It was really light. But one thing that really stuck with me was there was a 6x6, a yellow one, all right, like this. But this one was kind of unique. It had this really aggressive sound, and it jumped in the pond and was like, the tires were kind of a tread I'd never seen before. These, I was used to the old style run-amucks things, and now they got, where are they? These ones here. There you go. And this thing would just tear down the pond and right up the other side. No effort, no issue. There's 2 guys in it. And now these guys weren't out in the bush. These guys came later. And I overheard someone say that, these guys are here from Argo. That, these are employees or sales or representatives, whatever they are, that they're here from Argo with this machine, showing it off. And I thought, wow, that is impressive. I knew I would never have something like that. That's just way out of my league. So jump forward 15 years and now it's 2025. I see this one on Marketplace and I think, it's pretty good. I'm tired of mucking around with these old broken Argos. I'm just going to get one that runs and that's going to be it. It was maybe an hour and a half away and I pay up and I throw it on the trailer and here we are, bring it home. And I remember her saying, it was a girl that owned it, and I remember her saying that the fellow that owned it was an Argo employee, that, you know, that's why all these special bits are on it, and I didn't know what was special about it. I hadn't really looked at it that hard. I just took a quick walk around, said, yeah, I'll take it. So then when I got it home, I got looking at all the special features on it, and I remember her saying that, yeah, it was an Argo employee. And then I remembered back, wait a minute, this is a 2010, and I thought, it was 2010. I was on that run and I saw that special yellow Argo out in the pond. And then I put two and two together and thought, you know, maybe this is it. This might be the Argo I saw 15 years ago being demonstrated by these Argo employees out on the pond. I think it is. Now, I won't know for sure until the fellow that built this stumbles across it on YouTube, makes a comment or messages me and fills me in on the details, because this is not your normal build for an Argo. There's a lot of features on this that we're going to go over right now. This thing is got a sump pump over here, and it's spring loaded so that you don't leave your sump pump on and dry it out and burn it out. So as long as you hit that, it's on. I think the key has to be on. Nope, I hear it. Front headlights, accessory headlights. This is supposed to be the fan, but I got it screwed up, and now the fan is on this toggle switch. The toggle switch is supposed to be for another thing. I'll show you in a second, but I rewired it by mistake. So now I'll show you what this does. But headlights. All right, this is the summer hood, and it is good for hot weather because it's got the built-in fan, and so it just draws air in from the sides and then up through the top. Keeps it nice and cool in there. This is an air-cooled engine. So I'm going to disconnect it because it's winter now. I want to put the winter hood on. So let's take a look at that. Just pop this little doodad and slide that sideways. Hood's off. We'll grab the other hood. All right, here's the winter hood. Looks just as cool with that racing stripe. I'm gonna have to give it a little bit of a clean. That's dirty. All right, let's plug this one in and see what happens. Latch it down. All right. All right, let's turn off the lights here. I'll turn them off a little bit. Okay, let's see what this hood does. That's right. But yeah, hey, for plowing snow, that's what it's set up for. All right, speaking of hoods, let's open this and take a look at what we got inside. Get lost. Okay, in my opinion, this is the perfect engine to have in a six-wheel drive Argo. 23 horse Briggs Vanguard EFI, electronic fuel injected. That's right. No messing with the carb, no worrying about what the temperature is out, none of that. It just runs perfect all the time. So my advice, see if you can find an Argo with a 23 horsepower fuel injected Vanguard. So love that motor. The burn Argo I got, the burn Victim, has a 23 horse Vanguard in it as well, just not fuel injected, it's carbureted. Now, someone also needs to explain to me, how is this a dual exhaust tip muffler? I haven't seen this anywhere on any of them. Hang on, I gotta get a light. Okay, so I have seen one or two Argos online that have dual tips, but not like this. If we take a look, all right, I'm going to show you something on the burned out Argo. So this is a typical single tailpipe, single exhaust pipe coming out through the screen. Now you can see in the factory, they would punch a hole in this screen and they would roll it inwards, okay? I don't know if you can pick that up or not, but the mesh is not just cut in a circle. It's cut a little smaller and then it's formed inward. Now, let's just say you were a guy that owned an Argo and thought, hey, we need to put on two exhaust pipes. Would you really go through that effort? I doubt it. You would just cut a big old oval or oblong shape in there. All right, both pipes are rolled inward on these holes, okay? I think it's done in the factory. I think this was an option that nobody ever paid for. I think this is a one-off deal. So I like it. Possibly it was going to be an option that they just no longer offered. It said, listen, let's not even do that. No one, it's ridiculous. Nobody wants a hot rod Argo. They want something reasonable and functional. That's all. Not me. I wanted dual exhaust. All right, good enough for inside there. Let's get rid of this. Love these hood latches. Not the kind that, you know, half the people on earth would lose their hoods on the highway because it wasn't latched right. It had that little screw thing that people would tend to forget. All right, that's going nowhere. All right, this bush guard. What the heck? I have not seen another one like this on an Argo either. Let's take a look at things. All right, have you ever seen an Argo bush guard with plates on it? All right, because I haven't. I've only seen tubular bush guard. So someone needs to explain this to me. It looks like, you know, this is not just crafted in someone's garage. This is a real deal bush guard, and it's got to be for an Argo. It just, like, everything fits the Argo perfectly. I mean, just right all around. Fits the winch perfectly. This side got tore up, so somebody had a bit of an incident, and I'll fix that up. I'll put a new piece of, I'll rivet a piece of metal across there, but that is one cool bush guard. One of a kind, never seen another one like it on an Argo. Okay, someone needs to explain to me why this doesn't have any taillights. At least that's what I thought when I bought it. I thought, oh, this is just a base model, just the cheapest one. They didn't even put taillights on it. Oh, didn't they? Okay, how about that? Suddenly I have taillights. Well, they're little LEDs, but there's some other little dots on there too. Do they do anything? They do. Brakes. Hey, like, can you even believe it? That is the best design ever. And I've never seen it on another Argo. Why doesn't every single Argo have little LEDs so that when you're backing it up through the brush and stuff, you're not busting your lenses all to pieces? Oh, and look, there's even a little purple one down in there. See that? And it lights up this tag, this warning tag. I guess, you know, to remind you of stuff. Yeah, like the weight limit in the back of the Argo. But at nighttime, when you're outside, it looks pretty cool because the whole back end lights up kind of purple, you know. A bit of a bling there, eh? Let's see. How about that? And maybe we can get some lights rocking up front here. Neat. All right, my second favorite thing on this, maybe my third, no, my second, is hydraulic brakes. I mean, you really got to rely, you got to trust your brakes with your life sometimes, going down some super steep hills, and you want to keep the machine nice and straight, not take off on you and go all crazy. And hydraulic brakes are the way to roll, you know. I know the cable is probably good enough. My other one over there has cable brakes, and I'm sure that's fine, but when I'm all panicky and squeezing this good and hard, I don't want to snap a cable. I want hydraulic brakes. Hydraulic steering as well. But here's the kicker. Here's something I totally didn't understand when I bought this. Like, why could I not do a 180? Like, something's wrong with it. I just assumed that the transmission was like high range and low range, and that's it, right? So I always keep it in high. The old Argos, you just kept it in high range. You didn't need low range for anything. But then I got to looking, and it was like, well, let's take a boo here. Let's take the floor out, and then let's take the dash pad off. It's just really handy here. You just turn these little clips in 3 places, and it just pops right off. Slip it right up over the shifter, and it's gone. All right, so I'm looking down here, checking things over, and I'm so confused. I'm like, well, why is there 2 pairs of brake rotors? Something's not right here. So there's a brake rotor down here, and then there's another one up here. Same on the other side, of course. Yeah, explain to me what's going on here. And then I realize this can't even be real, can it? This is an Admiral transmission. Wait, what? I thought Admiral transmissions were only for the top level. I mean, the best of the best. You paid a heck of a lot extra for an Admiral transmission. And yet that's exactly what this is. And then the more I looked into it, now I understand. It's like, no. So what an Admiral transmission is, it's like 2 transmissions in one. When it's in high range, it won't skid steer. It'll steer more gradual, all right? So when you're like hard to the left or hard to the right, it won't just do a 180 and you know, spin around on a dime. It steers more gradually, so it's controllable, more controllable at a higher speed. But say you want to do a 180, you know, you're plowing your driveway or you're out in the water or something where you want to lock up the one side, you drop it down into what they call low range, and it's like the old original transmission again. So now you can lock up one side or the other. It'll steer on a dime. I'm going to show you what this transmission costs if I needed to replace it brand new. Okay, yeah, did you okay, that's American. You want to know what this is, then convert it to Canadian? Exactly. All right, so I only paid $6,800 for the whole Argo, and this transmission is exceptional. It's the best they make. And like, let's face it, that's why Argo's still in business, is because of their transmission. All the other ones failed.
almost all the other ones, but you know, Argo is pretty much it. Now, while the floors are out, I absolutely have to adjust the chains. I have to look into what's going on, maybe even replace them because they are really sloppy. I think I'm going to be replacing chains. I don't think the adjusting blocks will adjust it enough anymore. I think they're probably at the end of their adjustment. I'm thinking I'm going to go a little further and just put new chains on, possibly on the entire machine. Because now I realize I have the best of everything on this machine. I want to keep it forever. I'll never get another one like this. I don't even understand how it was built this way, how somebody came up with every single good thing, even, you know, a color-coded seat, custom stitched. Got a little bit off on the yellow. It's not quite a match, but it's close enough. All right, set up for winter and summer, 2 different hoods for 2 different purposes. I just cannot even believe that I just happened upon this without knowing really anything. And another thing, all right, I didn't understand these wheels. I thought first they were plastic, but really just painted aluminum to match the body color. And 25-inch tires, the biggest they make, and bead locks, front and back, all the way around. All right, so there's the introduction to the details of this Argo. I think this is the best 6-wheeler on earth. That's my opinion.